Okay, here we are in Beat Eyes, Texas with Landscape Ninjas with John's Top 5 for today. Today we're going to be asking them the questions that you should ask a landscaper. I'm here with Melissa, Charles, and Daniel, and we're going to be discussing what they do, how they kind of got into it, and then those tips that we're talking about. Okay, guys, it's a pleasure to meet you. Introduce yourselves and tell me how you got into landscaping.
So I'm Melissa, and I first got into landscaping back in high school. It was a fun job. Got to be outside, work with my hands. Fast forward a few years working in an office, things just weren't really feeling right for me. And with the Landscaping Ninjas, was an opportunity to get outside and really dig into some sales and start getting outside. And it really changed everything for the better. And I love what I do, and I love working outside.
It's today is the beautiful day to be outside.
Oh yeah.
And you,
Daniel? My name's Daniel. I founded Landscaping Ninjas.
okay?
Basically I was a mechanic before this,
Okay.
and was just dead end job, and so I have no idea where I got the idea to start mowing grass.
Yes,
But that's what I did, and then
Okay.
it continued to evolve from there, and just kept growing and growing and growing into these 6-figure projects like you see here.
yes. Now, do you still mow grass?
No.
I'm Charles Wilson, and so I've been doing this for 8 years now. I started doing this when I was younger. My uncle's actually an arborist out of South Houston, and so I grew up trimming trees and taking care of brush and doing a lot of outdoor work. And moving forward from there, I kind of took a break for a little while going to school and moved into the restaurant industry, and then came on
Really?
back for a good solid 9 to 5 when starting to have kids.
Yes.
It's been really good. It's been good for me. I like and enjoy the inside and outside basis of it, and being a little bit indoors in the office and a little bit outside.
Yeah, I
Still
bet
walking
so.
around properties is beautiful like this.
I bet so. Now, you say you founded it. How long ago?
So we're coming right up on 8 years.
Okay.
We do everything down to, you might need a French drain because you got water pooling in the backyard.
Yeah.
We'll do that as well. But these are the showcases that we really enjoy to build and then kind of show off. So
Okay. Number one question to ask. What would you like folks to know?
that your yard is going to get most likely destroyed,
Okay.
in this process. So
Yeah.
we've got to a lot of times we've got to remove everything that's there. Maybe it might be overgrown, or, we may just need to excavate for a patio. We need to excavate for drainage and things
Sure.
like that. And so we've actually had times in the past where somebody would call us after, let's say, day 1 on a 5-day project and be like, my yard is destroyed.
Yes.
And I'm like, yes, ma'am, I know that.
Yeah.
That's what we did today. And so
Yes.
we have to pull everything out to then go back and replace it, right?
Oh, sure.
And so, but a lot of people get this nervousness and, when they see that. And so I've actually made it a point to say, hey, your yard's going to get destroyed. It's going
Yes.
to be okay. We're going to fix it when we're done.
Is it going to be included in your estimate to put it all back together, or is that something that you have to have a discussion about?
Well, it's definitely a discussion. Everything that is within our design. So if we got a patio, obviously that's going to be complete. All the landscape beds will be complete.
Sure.
And then as part of our quote, we always are going to just kind of level the ground out. Like we're not going to leave you with holes and ruts
Okay.
and things
All
like
right.
that. But sod, on the other hand, is, would be a separate item, which is, we
Okay.
talk about that before
But you're
we
going to
get
have that
started.
discussion, so I'll know whether I want to pay for that sod to be replaced or not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another small topic is we are hugely a drainage company.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a thing that a lot of companies miss. And we often have to come back and fix, as they'll build the patio or they'll build the landscape beds and create a dam in the process, or completely block the flow of what the water was supposed to be. Which then most of the time, most neighborhoods are graded in a way where this backyard goes to that backyard, goes to that backyard.
Yes, it does.
And so when you put a landscape bed all along this fence, you don't consider that drainage. You block up their yard, their yard, their yard, their yard.
Sure.
And then everybody's mad.
Boy,
at
I've seen
Mrs.
that.
Jones.
I
Yeah.
have seen that.
Yep.
So do plants have warranties?
Our plants are warranted from the nursery when we get them. And then we offer another 30-day warranty on the plants. So
Okay.
if they even begin to look bad, like, hey, this plant's going downhill, you just send us a photo or something, and then we'll add it to our warranty list. Because a lot of times plants are going to go into shock.
Sure.
When they go in the ground, they immediately wilt, and they're like, "Oh, it's dying." You're like, no, it's shock. Give it some water, give it a couple days, and it'll stand right back up.
Yes.
And so we do have that, and we do see that most of the time, within a month, if everything's still living, it's going to do pretty well.
If it's lasted a month
Yeah.
here, it's probably going to be okay.
Yeah.
So now we've talked about disturbing the yard. You've got the plan in place. How do you avoid electrical lines? How do you avoid the stuff that's under there that you can't see?
So every time upon approval with our jobs, we go ahead and send an 811 on every single project that we do, regardless of how small or large it is. Because the most important thing is not only, a lot of people work from home nowadays, so we want to make sure we don't cut your CATV line, but more importantly than that, we want to make sure that our guys are safe. So when you're talking about gas lines and electrical lines, even though, yes, they should be buried 18 inches to 2 feet below, there is still the potential that we can get close to those lines.
Sure.
And so having them marked and making sure that those are all clearly seen before we start our project is really big in importance to us.
Oh, I can believe that. Have you ever hit a line that wasn't marked correctly?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
It's not my fault.
So we actually replaced a fence one time, right?
Yes.
All the way around. And I was like, all right, we don't need to call, utilities. We're going to pull the post out and we'll put a post back where they were.
Sure.
Well, upon clearing some of those, I guess the company before had just barely missed a gas line.
Oh my.
And so me and somebody else are running a gas powered auger. And all of a sudden I just hear like very, very loud. I'm like, I look up. I'm like, is there a jet falling out of the sky?
Oh,
And then
dear.
I smell gas.
Oh dear. Yeah.
And so I take off running. I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
out of here. Cause this thing is gas powered
Sure.
and it's running. I'm like,
Yes.
that thing's fixing to catch on fire, right?
Right.
It never did, luckily. But,
Praise
my
the
buddy's
Lord.
sitting there holding in the thing. He's like, what are you doing?
I'm like, get out of there.
Yeah. So that was when I was still very, new into business.
Sure.
And so, that was that was the thing.
some
that
of the
caused
best checklist items are things that we've made mistakes on in the past.
Oh,
you
yeah.
never make that mistake again,
Yeah.
do you?
No. Oh, we shut down an entire neighborhood. The fire department was
Golly,
there.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it was not
dear.
fun.
That's horrible. Yeah, that's a great story. Okay, we're in the Brazos Valley. So how does our local climate, it's an alkaline soil here. How does that affect what you guys are able to do for folks?
So, so basically, yeah, there's a lot of plants that will do well here. There's
Okay.
a lot of plants that will not. And what a lot of people don't realize is we're in zone 8B. And so, which is a huge portion of, kind of the lower central part of the country or whatever. But there's plants that'll do well in Houston that will not do well here.
Oh, I've experienced that.
Yeah.
Azaleas.
Azaleas.
I loved azaleas in Houston.
Mhm.
I bought a lot of them from Lowe's because they sell them,
Yeah.
but they don't grow here.
They don't grow here. Same thing with Loropetalum is a solid purple shrub.
Mhm.
I actually witnessed them when they built the new, Chick-fil-A in Bryan.
Yes.
They probably put in 500 Loropetalum and I was like, I passed it one day and I said, those are all gonna die. And it was a week later, there was Texas sage all the way around that building.
Yeah.
And so, it even just in that short amount of distance, it does matter.
Sure.
And so what we use is a local, Texas superstar plant list.
Uh-huh.
Melissa actually created an entire book out of these plants that we had printed with photographs and everything like that.
Wonderful.
Yeah. And so everything we use is not only going to be zone native, but region native as well.
Okay.
So that it does well in our soil with our salty water conditions.
Yes.
They'll still do well. And so that's the plants that we typically will use unless we're doing some type of special design.
Okay.
There's
So-
a little bit more science that goes into it than
Sure.
just the weather and where you're located, because in Washington state, you can see all kinds of beautiful flowers that they're also in zone 8B. But when you come down to Texas, our soil type and our water, whatever is in the water,
Yeah,
is not
salt.
very
Uh-huh.
good.
It's
Salt.
just so I've got a design together, but how do you help me manage the time that it's going to take? You're going to have my yard torn up. Do you help with scheduling? How does that work?
Know to be ahead of the ball game. If you start in March, everybody's already started because it's already spring and they're already
Sure.
buying their own plants,
Sure.
including homeowners who are doing their own.
Sure.
If you want to get ahead of the game, you really need to start communicating with the landscape company towards the end of January, beginning of February to make sure you get in the right time frame and into the queue.
Now, I
Yeah.
think that's probably the best advice you've already given to me. Early communication is better than late communication.
Yeah.
Isn't that always the case?
Yeah.
So typically whenever we are starting a project with you, we'll have an estimated time for how long it's going to take to complete that job from the first day to the last day. So
Yeah.
that'll give you an idea of how long this project will be ongoing. And until that time, we will be in communication with you to get your job scheduled with our company. Sometimes we do run into delays with the weather.
Sure.
Material shortages or delays can sometimes get in the way. And also, before we move on to the next job, we want to make sure that the job that we were at is completely 100% immaculate.
Okay.
So if it takes maybe an extra day, we might have some adjustments in our schedule to where your schedule might not start on the promised day. And there might be adjustments. So we do have to have some flexibility.
But
with
you do think it through to help me so that if I'm wanting something done by the wedding date, whatever it might be, or the date that we're having the party in the backyard, you can help me understand we're going to make it or we're not.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Good deal.
Yeah. And
Good deal.
sometimes you're just not going to make it. And
Yes.
we've had that conversation like, hey, we're having a party in 2 weeks. I said, well, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, I'm 4 weeks out right now at best.
Right.
That's without any weather delays. That's if it's 70 degrees and sunny every day.
Yeah.
I'm
And
4
no
weeks
rain.
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but we do try to keep everybody updated on scheduling and delays and stuff like that. And then the other thing to know is that when we get on a job, we are on that job to completion.
Okay.
There's a huge pain point that I've come across a lot is that a company will show up, work for a day or two, be gone for a week, show
Yes.
back up, work for a day or two, be gone for 2 weeks. We do not operate in that way. We get on that job. We're on that job until we're done.
Excellent.
And then we're done.
That is good to know. That's a huge plus.
Yeah.
Another
Okay.
big thing on scheduling too, just for long-term scheduling, is knowing what you're going to do and what kind of project you're going to install. If you know that you're going to do a hardscape project and mostly be focused on something like decking, paver patio, concrete, or a pergola, it's a really great time to try to get in fall when things are going to be slower. We're not going to be doing any spring planting, and it'll be much easier for us to get to your project quickly and get it done quickly.
Yeah.
And then
All right. Bonus question just for me. This is a completely selfish request. All right. I have tried azaleas. They don't work. I have tried several other things. Now, some of that may have been user error.
Yeah.
However, what is your favorite blooming, evergreen, perfect plant? Is there one?
Silverado, Texas sage, that would be my favorite.
Silverado, Texas sage.
Large shrub, very silver leaves, beautiful purple flower, great looking shrub.
Okay.
I'm more of a fan of the rose, the knockout rose.
Okay.
It's in my house. It stays green all year
Yes.
and it blooms pretty randomly. Like I just had 5 blooms open up and I had 5 blooms open up in October. It's just whenever it rains,
Okay.
it's
That good old fashioned knockout rose.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Do you have one, Dave?
Yeah. I mean, if you're talking like azalea, like that kind of
I
type
would
of
love
shrub
that.
with
Is that
the
even
blooms.
possible in our area?
So, Abelia, funny
Abellia.
enough, Abelia. There's
Never heard
Larry
of that one.
Edward Goucher and glossy leaf Abelia. Very like same kind of structure to the shrub.
Yeah.
Profuse blooms.
Okay.
Pink and white. That's a good one. And then also the viburnum as well is going to be
I've heard of viburnum.
yeah,
I
thick,
have.
heavy, dark green leaf that blooms profusely as well. White.
Okay.
And they're covered
So-
in white. They look like little snowball bushes.
I have seen those.
Yeah,
I
that's
sure
the
have.
viburnum.
Okay.
So both of those are fantastic
That's a
and
good
do
one.
well in our climate. So
Fantastic. Your favorite tree?
Redbud.
Yeah, probably Texas redbud.
Texas redbud.
Well,
Why?
For
Why is it?
decoration.
Why is okay?
In the springtime, it has purple flowers
Right.
all over it that quickly turn into pretty little heart-shaped leaves.
Uh-huh.
that's the first thing you see in spring. When you
Yeah.
know it's fixing to be spring, all on the side of the road, you'll see the trees. They're just solid pinkish purple.
Yes.
That's the Texas redbud, native wild tree that's really pretty.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
So
their leaves are still broad enough that during the fall, whenever you have to fight raking them all,
Yes.
it's not too bad.
It's not too bad. This has been our top 5 with Landscape Ninjas here in the Brazos Valley. They are the company you want to talk about. Talk to you later.